Welcome to Skika Uncover. This is a podcast where we are going to be speaking to African artists and learning from their stories. We aim to uncover the truths and the lies behind building your entire livelihood and also impacting the lives of other people through their art. Up next, or right here next to me, I'm so excited. You can probably tell because my voice has even switched up. I'm with a great friend, but she is a visual artist, a painter, and the co-founder of an incredibly curated space called Free Mind Sessions. And that is Lindsay Dawn Obath. How you doing, girl?
I'm good.
Yeah. You're happy with the intro?
Yeah. I was like, nailed it.
Do you kumbuka kila kitu?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you on here. And guys, it's been a long day of shooting. You won't know, you won't tell, just because Panzigo will do a great job. But finishing off with a friend, best, safest, and amazing.
Know.
But you're an incredible artist, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Because we've been wanting to do a catch-up. I think half of it will actually be on this podcast.
I agree. I think what people also don't know is Susan and I have been friends since
primary school.
Since we were about 6 years old.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you say it, when you actually say how old you are, I'm like, oh my word.
Since we were 6.
Yes. And then we went to different schools and then found each other again.
And then went.
Yes.
And now we are here.
First media job I ever did was in Lindsay's parents' house.
Actually, that is
hired
correct.
by her sister.
That is correct.
It's a wild world. And you've been told to network, even in primary school. Stop wasting your good time.
Because that's where you go wrong.
But we do go way back. And I was actually remembering, I have such a clear memory of you and I in art class. And this is when I realized I have a thing with pointillism, because that's what we were being taught that day. And it irritated me so much. I couldn't keep looking around at everybody's pages with all the dots and my page. And I was just like, ew. But what I remember is Lindsay, no, I felt ew. I felt Didi. That's actually what I felt. For those of you who don't, we'll try to describe it. But I felt Didi, so much Didi. And I remember you just freed me. Like I was sitting next to you and you were just like, but Susan, you don't have to do it. Like just color or whatever. And that's what I did. Like I just decided that, why am I suffering?
But that
pointillism still irritates me up till today.
That was me teaching you cheat codes.
High key.
Yeah, because like, were you failed or were you passed for that?
I think I passed that. It was probably just that one assignment.
Okay, then no bad blood.
No bad blood. I think that you are such a cheerleader. Like when we reconnected later, especially when I was in your house every single week doing a show with Junior, shout out to Junior and Nyongo. You were just such a cheerleader. Like sometimes we'd be like, we don't know if this show is working, or I'll tell you guys a story. When me and Junior were starting this show, we were meant to be 3 people. And that's not what ended up happening. We ended up being 2 of us, which was such a blessing because I think with Junior it worked out so perfectly. But Lindsay was just like, no, it's going to be fine, guys. It's going to be amazing. And she was also an unpaid, consistent guest on the show all the time. We practiced so much interviewing through you. And I just want to say thanks, man.
Oh, my pleasure.
You were such a cheerleader. And I've seen it with many other people in our space. Despite what they're doing, Lindsay's like, yeah, man, go. I'll come. Even if I come late, even if I'm not able, if I can video in,
I'll be there. Yeah.
So because of that and because of that spirit, I'm just curious, where does that come from? Yeah.
I think, that's an interesting question, actually. I think because I'm a big believer of do for others what you want for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think also because of how I grew up. It's almost like because when you're in a house full of several siblings,
yes,
you feel like you have something to prove.
Yes.
But it's only when you do the thing that you get the cheerleading.
That's true.
And the praise and everything.
True.
But you don't really get it before then.
Yeah.
Until now they've seen that you're capable and then now it starts coming naturally and everything.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I'm a big friend person.
Yes.
Because if you've been taken to boarding school at a young age, which I was, you learn that really friends are your lifeline.
Yes, and the family you choose.
Yes, and then also like, I guess also the whole hype around boarding school is you're not representing just you when you go everywhere.
Yes.
So you always have to like have that like, okay, I'm going to cheer you on, even if you're doing a very, very terrible job. I'm going to cheer you on because, listen, you need to just know that there's someone in your corner screaming for you.
Yeah.
So that
sometimes
one day,
that's enough.
Yeah. So that one day you just look back and be like, you know what, I'm glad I kept going.
Yes.
That's it for me.
100%.
Yeah.
There's so many of us who need to thank Lindsay. Guys, give her flowers now. Please and thank you. Okay? I want, as this episode drops, her phone is just zzz, okay? Give her flowers.
I will also text myself.
And if you can bring them in person, even better.
Even better.
I want to actually, it's funny that I've talked about flowers because I have it here on my notes. You are such a plant mom. And it shocked me. So she's this on social media. AH_this. And I don't know. I followed you for so long, but I kind of felt like just one day. What is it called when you put the plants in water?
Propagating.
Thank you. You taught me that word.
I'm glad I can educate.
Propagating. And I just saw this room in your bathroom when you were watering them, full of plants. But something that struck me was after I saw those videos and you doing your updates on social media, I realized a lot of your work looks like plants, but I had never seen it till now. Then. So I'm so curious, what's the influence with nature when it comes to work and art? And was it always there? Have you always like, painted or drawn flowers and trees and landscapes, or where did it come from?
So interesting. The propagation actually started out as a COVID hobby.
Okay, this explains, because I was like, one day I didn't know you were a plant mom, and then the next
all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
So I've always loved being around nature, but during COVID, I was like, I have nothing else to do.
Right.
I have attended all the online concerts. I have attended all the lives. I've seen everyone's everything.
Yes.
I know way too much about people's lives, which I didn't mind, to be honest, because I feel like COVID's so weird because it's one of those situations where when you look back, you realize that much as we were all separated, we got to know so much more about each other.
And the world, that's so true.
So much more, because now everyone is just like, listen, we're all kind of in this thing together. So let me just, if I share this thing,
whatever.
I'm just going to share it, whatever.
Yeah.
So I started just out of boredom. I had actually seen it online and I was like, listen, I've always wanted to have more plants in my space. And my bathroom has this very lovely skylight. And I was like, let's see.
Yeah.
And then it started off 1. Then it started off 2. Then we got to the 10s. Then we got to the 20s.
Yes.
And by the time I moved those plants to a different space, I had 60.
You lie.
Yeah.
Lindsay.
60.
What are you saying?
I'm saying COVID reminded me I had time.
That's a forest.
Yeah, it was a forest.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I am so impressed.
And to build up on now the second thing you had asked me about, the influences of nature and everything. I was born in a forest.
What do you wait? What? Also, guys, have your friends on a podcast because you realize you know nothing.
I was born in a forest. So I don't know if it's a fun fact or it's really just my life story.
Okay.
I was born in a little island called Longmiri in Sarawak, which is East Malaysia.
Oh.
And at the time, we didn't really have like any big hospitals or anything. We just had dispensaries and clinics.
Yes.
So where the dispensary and the clinic was really like bushy,
like in the full drums.
Yeah, foresty, pretty much. And living on an island, being surrounded by water. Maybe I'm a Pisces, so there's this whole water nature thing. I don't know. I'm not really that astrology babe that much.
Yeah,
but I get it.
We know. We all know I'm wearing my Virgo necklace. We all know our sign. What it means, we are working on still, but we are there.
I think what it means changes depending on like when Venus is in reggaeton.
The moon,
yeah,
there's something
exactly,
and Mercury in retrograde.
So I guess I've always just enjoyed that type of environment. And I think also my mom has always been into gardening and flowers and all of that.
Okay.
So I think naturally I'm more inspired and at peace around nature.
Nice.
Even when I look back at my boarding school experience, my first boarding school was literally surrounded by forests. And on break times, we'd go down to the stream and make boats and race them and things. It actually sounds like a fairy tale.
It really does.
I have this bad habit of romanticizing.
It was the
my
ghetto.
life.
It was the ghetto.
It wasn't the ghetto.
Okay.
But then I also realized my specific experience in school is everyone has such a very different experience.
That's true.
Of school.
That's true.
Some people look at boarding school and they're like, I will never take my kids.
Yes.
But I look at boarding school and I was like, had I not been there, I wouldn't be who I am.
Fair
today.
enough.
So
Yeah.
everyone, different folks, different strokes.
Yeah.
And I hope guys got that, being artists. Am I
That's what
pulling
she
it?
said.
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
Get it out of the way.
So yes, definitely. I think it's just a natural inspiration for me. But I didn't realize that was actually what inspired my artwork.
Okay.
Until like months after a lot of pieces were finished.
And you looked at them and you
And
were
I was like, because I have a reverse methodology. I don't usually like plan and think, okay, I have this specific inspiration for this piece.
right.
Or this series. I'm like, I want to paint. I have colors and things flowing in my head. And then it's after the fact, maybe even several months later, I'll even have a name for a piece. But usually I go with the process and then I take a step back and I'm like, what do I feel when I see this thing? So the same thing you guys feel when you're looking at my work is an experience I have literally just minutes before I choose to post and talk about it.
So even series, you don't know until you've seen them, and then you're like, oh, these are, this is the same vibe, or this is, what?
Although that's slowly changing now, because the series I'm currently working on came from a very, it's a very specific inspiration. Of course, nature inspired. Yeah. But it's very specific.
Very specific.
So this is one of the first series where I know what the inspiration is
behind.
Yeah.
Before. Usually
it usually happens after, which is just madness.
That is so interesting, because I've always imagined that you know what you want it to look like. Sometimes it can surprise you on the paper or on the canvas, but the fact that you don't know it, we're all figuring it out together, is actually I'm shocked. I didn't expect you to say that.
I think the only time I have that when I know is maybe a commission, or if I'm working on like a collaboration with someone.
Yes.
Or if there's like a specific competition I'm trying to get into, or residency, etc. But for the most part, if it's just me doing my work, it's such a fluid process.
Yeah.
I literally, I'm on autopilot the whole time. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And I'm happy that I nailed your introduction, because I want to know, when did you decide, I'm Lindsay and I'm a visual artist? Like, I can introduce myself in that way. When did you own that?
I owned that I was a visual artist. I'd say maybe, I think when I dropped out of uni the first time.
That's hilarious.
When I dropped out of uni, see, you said this podcast we're talking about, the realities.
Oh, yeah, the truth.
The realities of the situation and the career trajectory, and I guess the journey of the creative.
Yeah.
Because I had gone to do architecture. I had convinced myself, I said I have this bad habit of romanticizing
things.
So I convinced myself that this is something that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a good go, but I didn't give it my best. Yeah. And that's when I realized,
this is not.
Yeah, because instead of going to class, I was painting.
Right.
And I realized I'm wasting my parents' school fees.
And my time.
Yeah, so the next holiday, and they're asking me for the invoice, I was like, I'm not going back.
No invoice for you.
No invoice for you, I'm sorry. And they're like, okay. I mean, that's cute. But what's your plan? You know, African parents, they're like, oh,
yes,
you want to drop out.
And your parents are two established people in their field.
Exactly.
So I can only imagine
So
what that conversation was like.
You want to drop out? Okay, that's funny. Pack your bags, you're going back. And I was like, no. So it became a bit tense, but because I had that conviction, I didn't know I wanted to become an artist, but I knew I wanted to do something very tactile and creative. So I think once I decided to get out of architecture, that's when I knew. And that was in 2013.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, end of 2013, December.
Now, I know you went back to school again. I know this as your friend, but I want you to walk people through the process, because I think studying in general, whether you're studying here at home or outside in another country, is a whole other realm and a whole other space. And especially in uni, because so much of it is, it's reliant on you. It's
Yes.
reliant on self.
Yes.
There is no punishment if you don't do assignments. There is no, like, you're just not going to get like your degree in the end or your diploma, but there's no like reprimand. There's no one's following you. It's not like the same way it is in high school and primary school. So when you went back to school again, how did you make that decision and what was that process like?
Okay. Another life. It's literally life story. We're here for life story.
Yeah.
So once I came back from Malaysia, which is now where I'd gone to do architecture.
Yes.
I came back to Nairobi, and because I didn't have plan B, my folks were literally just like, okay, you don't have plan B.
Yeah.
So we're giving you a year.
Okay.
Figure your life out.
That's not bad. It's generous.
Yeah, it was generous.
Yeah.
And luckily, I was working in high school.
Okay.
I was working for a modeling agency. I know. Random. But those of you who know, you know, it used to be called Strated Africa. I worked for Strated Africa, which was a huge modeling agency at the time.
I remember the black and white Africa logo.
Yes. It was really doing something massive that hadn't been done before at the time. So I was kind of working there during high school, and then I went to uni. But when I got back, I realized I still had a position there. So I started working.
Oh, nice.
But my folks kept side-eyeing. They're like, okay, yeah, you're working. You're making your small monies.
Yeah.
But school?
Yes.
And I was like, okay. So as I was working, I was also painting. And I signed up for the Kenya Art Fair that used to happen at Sarit back in the day.
Nice.
I don't know if they still do it, to be honest, because it was run by Kuona. So I'm not sure. Maybe
we'll check it out.
Yeah,
if you're listening and you know, let us know. It was run by Kuona, and this is now 2014. And I got in and I exhibited. And actually, I was exhibiting one piece there, because you could submit several. Okay.
But then Kuona now curates and chooses the pieces that they want. So they selected one. And I was exhibiting. But, of course, it's an art fair, and they bring all these high schools and secondary schools and primary school kids to come and see. So I see my old high school is there. I see Greenstead's is there. I'm like, Greenstead's is talking to all my teachers. I'm like, oh my gosh, my work is here. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we always knew you're going to do something creative. Oh. So that was like, it was affirmation. But they were going to do a talk for the year 13 and year 11 kids about like what you can expect, like art career and studying and all of that. I was like, let me just go sit.
Dude, it still applies. Eh?
Yeah.
Still applies. Yeah. Sometimes you walk by a school and you're like, even me, I'd really like to know.
Yeah. So I was like, let me go and see. So they had a talk, and they had all these lecturers from different universities.
Okay.
And clearly I'm the oldest one in the room that is not like a teacher or someone minding the children. And this guy at the end of the talk comes up to me. He's like, I noticed you were in the corner. And like, do you have a child that's interested or whatever? I was like, no, it's me.
It's actually me.
Yeah, it's actually me. And then I told him my story. I told him I was exhibiting. And turns out he was a lecturer. He was head of one of the faculty in the art department at Kenyatta University.
Oh, cool.
So he's like, okay, show me your work. I was like, okay. Then I showed him. He's like, listen, we're having an intake coming up. I'm going to send you some documents. Just apply.
I love it.
And I was like, huh? And he's like, yeah, because you're clearly eligible to get in.
Yes.
But what I also didn't realize is there's no eligibility to get in. He was just rubbing my ego.
But validation,
listen, I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
So he gave me that admission form, and I filled it in, submitted it, and then that was it. And that's now I went KU from 2014 to 2018.
And you were studying fine art?
Yeah, I was getting a bachelor's in fine arts.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you stuck it out?
No. I stuck it out for as long as I could, honestly. And this is where my criticism of our local education system comes in.
Okay.
Right? There are some amazing lecturers in that faculty.
Yeah.
However, for the most part, a lot of them were underpaid.
Oh, yes.
So, and that's not just in that faculty. I can only speak from my experience, but in the whole institution, a lot of lecturers are underpaid.
Yeah.
So every other semester, there's strikes.
Yes.
That takes you back for your learning, because I decided to do trimesters so that I can speed up the process and finish quickly, because I need to get back to making the bag.
Yeah. And I know what I want.
Yeah, and I know what I want. And it's this thing, and I want to get it done, but it didn't happen.
Oh my gosh. No, but we have strikes for days. Like my dad's oldest sister was like, don't worry guys, for us, it was monthly. And I'm like, okay, it's just because it's slightly better doesn't mean that we should be happy with the structure as is, because interruption of study is interruption of study.
Exactly.
And for uni, sometimes it means starting again.
You had to call off the semester, and then, you start again. And that was just one of very many things. I mean, there's things like even the registration process.
Yeah.
Coming from a university that had things digitized.
Yes.
And in KU, there was...
analog.
It was analog. You have to walk to one faculty, get a stamp. You walk to another faculty, you get a stamp. You walk to a whole other faculty, you get a stamp. But now they've also closed the door for lunch. Yeah. So you can't get your stamp. So you have to wait for a whole other hour until lunch is done. Yeah. Then you go get your stamp. And then just of course they give you 2 weeks to register, but that's because they know how long the process takes. But it's like, why are you accommodating such a long process instead of trying to make the process shorter?
And there's someone who's listening to this right now who's saying, no. I know Lindsay did not just say registration for a course takes 2 weeks.
At least for that semester, because there's also there's thousands of kids.
Of students.
Yeah.
But if you're using that method of walk and stamp, you need 2 weeks. So it used to frustrate me. And then they'd also change the fee structure. Okay.
Without really much notice.
Okay.
So what they do, they put all the notices on a notice board. If you're not in school that day and you have not walked past that notice board,
you'll be shocked.
You will be shocked. Yeah. So I remember I was told I had to call off a semester because the fees had increased by about 2,000 shillings. Yet I had already paid the original fee. But because I can't register my units because I had that 2K missing, I had to call off that whole semester and come back 3 months later.
And I'm thinking there's so many levels to this, because there's also the national conversation of now public universities aren't going to get funding. And so now what does that look like? Does the university have enough time to panga themselves?
Exactly.
And make sure that they can do it? And then you have thousands of kids leaving high school every year.
Yeah.
Waiting for placement in university. Hey.
Only to get a very substandard experience.
Yes. And sometimes it's not even the fault of the people in the institution.
Yeah, it's just the fact that there's people who want to change it and it's not there. So I felt very uninspired.
Understandably so.
Even the curriculum itself, there's a few things that were amazing about that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, by the time I was in third year, I only had 2 semesters left. I just felt I hadn't really learned
that much.
So I didn't learn anything that I didn't know already.
Right.
So I was like, let me just, and I was already working for myself at the time.
Yes.
I was like, let me just, let me not waste any more time here and just continue working.
So what did work for you look like? What did work for you look like that time in third year?
That time in third year, I was body painting. I was going to festivals, I was going to gigs, I was going to photo shoots. And the one thing that really annoyed me about that uni experience, also the curriculum.
Yeah.
It's not up to date. So you also feel like, what am I doing?
And it's separate to what you're experiencing outside, especially if you're saying not up to date. So it's like we're a bit ahead outside.
Exactly.
So is this really helping me when I leave uni and I have gigs in the evening?
Exactly. And then on top of that now, for someone like me who was working, they didn't have wiggle room for you can do a class or at a later time.
Yes.
Or maybe you can catch up.
Yeah.
And hand in assignments at a later date in case you're working. No, it's it has to be on this day. You have to be in class on this day. And if you miss 3 classes that whole semester, you're told to call off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're told to call off.
That's really strict considering how not so structured everything is.
But there's
3 classes, guys.
Yeah, there's the expectation of the students, which just goes into a whole other narrative of how education systems here are so uninspiring because you're taught that authority is law.
Yes.
You must say yes. You must listen. You must do as you're told. You can't question anything.
Yeah.
I remember getting failed by one lecturer. Hey, let me not laugh because she died.
Oh, no. We've laughed. We're going to hell. Okay.
No, because, right, I got failed by her. This is bad. I shouldn't be laughing.
No, it's okay. Tell the story. It did happen. It happened.
It happened, right? So I got failed by her because I used to question her all the time.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, listen, we're in an art university. The whole idea, I can't stop laughing. And I'm laughing because I'm ashamed. No,
it's wild that you say that because I did 844. So 844 is the Kenyan local education system.
Yes.
For primary school going into high school. And then I moved to international curriculum, the British system specifically. But I remember that was such a stark difference.
Facts.
Even needing to go to the bathroom. I was like, wait.
You can go. You can just
need to go to the bathroom, stand up,
okay.
tell the teacher when they're headed towards the door and go. I was like, I remember being lectured, being told, when you need to go to the bathroom, so why don't you go to the bathroom during the break
time? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like,
and you're sitting in class rocking because you're going to piss all over yourself.
Literally.
Out of fear of asking. Hey.
And even just like you said, how the education is structured. And the wildest thing is, in this same very Kenya, when you get out of school, everything works because you question.
It's very different.
You go to government buildings, you need something done, you do it the wrong way, then they're like, lakini haukuuliza? Excuse me? For years, you've been telling me that I follow the line as is what I'm told. Now I am somehow
now you want me to be
learn.
proactive. Yes, you sucked that out of me. So it's a big thing. And that's why, it was very important for me to be very sure about dropping out the second time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, this is the best you can get in this country right now.
Yeah, because KU is an amazing arts uni.
It is.
Some of our best writers, the theatrics, they all went through KU.
Yes. But the curriculum is outdated and there's not that much support. So I was just like, let me just do my thing. So that's around the time I started doing the body painting.
Yes.
And I figured I'm pretty okay. I have something I've been doing for a few years now. So
yes.
Let's just say bye-bye to this side and say hello.
To this other
to
side,
real life.
to the Biashara side of
real life.
Making art your career. Now, it's very interesting because I've never asked you this before and you have painted me quite a few times.
Yes.
And guys, if you have not gotten your body painted by Lindsay, just get serious. Go on her page and see where next. Because I'm sure they're going to reduce the opportunities as she grows.
It's already happening.
Right?
It's already happening.
How did the body art and the body painting start?
Okay. So, it's a long one, but I'll cut it short. Kenyans, for the most part, have heard about, there's a festival in Uganda.
Yes.
With a very controversial name. Apparently. Anyway, so I started off my body art at Nyege Nyege out of frustration.
Okay.
Only because I'd gone for the first Nyege. And like ever.
Yes.
And we're about 300 people.
Right.
In total.
Okay.
And this is like 300 on the ground, like everyone.
Everybody.
300.
Cute little
very
start of
cute,
a festival.
and it was amazing. So I was like, oh my goodness, a whole festival in a whole other country. It's my first festival first festival in East Africa outside of Kenya.
Right.
And I remember just not being able to shut up about it. I came to Nairobi, I spread that gospel like wildfire. So now the next year, we ended up going to Nyege as a whole group of Kenyans.
Yes.
In 2 buses. So we were first like around 11 Kenyans, the first Nyege, and now we're over 60.
Yes.
And a lot of Kenyans do not travel outside of Kenya. And when they do, they barely go around East Africa.
Right.
So they're entering Uganda, they don't have SIM cards. They're wondering where they can change money. I'm being followed. Guys are asking me questions. And I realized I'm not enjoying the festival experience.
Because I'm somehow admin.
Now I'm admin. So I'm there. I've taken my paints. I've gone to, because the original setting for the festival was very beautiful. Right by the shores of the River Nile. Me, a nature baby, as we've discovered.
Yes.
I wanted to go there and sketch and paint.
Oh, love it.
But because I was being looked for, I was like, you know what? I'm turning off my phone. I'm going to paint on myself. So that in case anyone is looking for me,
they'll just see another paint face.
They'll ask, oh, have you seen the girl who's painted and whatever? So that was now day 1. I think it was day 2.
Yeah.
Day 1 or day 2. Now, in the campsite where we all were, all the other Kenyans were like, oh, what you did on yourself yesterday was so cool. Can you do it on us? I was like, okay. Clearly now that helps everyone find each other.
Yes.
And it works better for me. And then literally that's what happened. And there's actually a picture on my Instagram, because we're Kenyans and then some other foreigners as well.
Yeah.
I have pictures of that time.
The very first
time I painted other people, which is crazy because there's this, in one of the pictures, there's this older white man. His name is Andrew. I think he's from the States or Canada. I'm not sure. And he was kneeling down because he's very tall. Kneeling down and I was painting him. I think his name was Andrew Behrens. And I come to find out years later that he was actually this amazing filmmaker.
Oh, wow.
Amazing filmmaker. However, he passed away.
Oh.
And I remember seeing it in like news.
And you were like, wait,
that he had died. Yeah. And I was
know
like,
this face.
I was like, you mean this guy who I was jamming with and having a good time with and painting was this guy who was revered and important?
Yes.
Which just goes to show like spaces like that, you just really never know who you're going to bump into.
That's very true. And it's why they're sacred. They're really nice spaces to create.
Exactly. But of course, festivals get bigger.
Yeah.
And they turn into other things. But during that specific first Nyege, what happened was, now I've painted people, and the lady who was camping next to me, and I owe her forever for this, her name is Sadia Ibrahim. Sadia Ibrahim, my longest collaborator of all time, actually, since then.
Love it.
Actually, not necessarily Sadia, but the company that she ran at the time, which was Kenya Nights.
Okay.
She was camping right next to me. Never met before. Our first time.
And we've probably been to quite a few Kenya Nights
together. Quite a few Kenya Nights. Yes, exactly. Like Kenya Nights for a certain demographic in Nairobi, there's memories there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's memories. And she's like, I run Kenya Nights and we have a gig next month. What you're doing can be a thing. I had never considered it.
So you're not even charging anyone. You're just having fun and you're like, I painted myself. They like it. I'm going to paint them. Less work, they're sending me less. They're asking me less questions.
Pretty much. So they're like, listen, just come. It's a thing. You come charge what you want.
Oh.
And then we take it from there.
Woman? I love her.
I know, shout out to Sadia, but if you ever watch this, Sadia, I love you forever. And she, I remember coming and I had just like this fanny pack of paints and a paper, and I put, you'll never guess what I charged when I first started.
Please tell us.
I was like, okay, so I was like, because I don't know how to charge for this.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, for all of you listening who are like, we don't know how to charge, we don't know how to price. Guess what? No one knows how to price themselves. We all figure it out.
Especially for something that was not necessary. It wasn't a thing in Nairobi at the time. We're talking 2015.
Yeah, definitely wasn't a thing.
It wasn't a thing. So I remember putting on that small piece of paper, I said, 50 bob, 100 bob, and 150.
Oh my God. I wish I came that time.
And I remember doing, guys, and literally everyone I painted tipped me because they're like, this price
is ridiculous.
And I remember Sadia coming and she's like, she literally got that paper, she tore it and wrote me a whole other prices. She's like,
God.
Because this was now at the Alchemist. She's like, you're at the Alchemist.
For crying out loud.
Are you seeing this crowd? Do you know how much a beer here is?
That's I was going to say,
yeah,
even
you
the
always
beer.
compare to the price of the beer.
Yeah.
Always. It's like, do you know how much a beer here is?
At bare minimum, at least.
At the very least, everyone's going to have at least 4 or 5 beers.
Yeah.
And you're here charging 50 shillings.
Come on.
So literally on everything on that list, she just added a 0.
Yes. As she should have.
0.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm getting you a new list. And from then on, that's when it started. And my whole thing was every time there was, and Kenya Nights events were happening very regularly.
Yeah.
So every month, I'm there. The next thing you know, there's references. There's people calling. This guy's taking numbers. This guy's taking Instagram. My Instagram wasn't even at this at the time. It was a whole other name.
Handle, something.
Yeah, it was a whole other handle. But I was like, okay, I need a name for this thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, because it was, my style was tribal. And I was like, okay, let me tap into my culture. So I was like, okay, my name is Adhiambo.
Yes.
So I looked for this on Instagram spelled with the DH.
Right.
It was taken.
Oh no.
I was like,
And let me tell you, the worst thing about those people that be taking your dream handle aren't doing anything with it. The one post.
Nothing.
One post and I can't use this name. I'm
it was
like,
just
wait.
taken. So I was like, okay, what do we do next? I said, okay, let me try like Adhiambo, taken. Let me try Adhiambo, taken. Yeah, Adhiambo 1, 2, 3, like taken. So I was like, okay, how else can I, like, what's the nickname for Adhis?
Yes.
I was like, okay, so it's Adhis, but what if I spelt it differently? And I was like, and I was like, this. Literally, so that's how the name came.
Oh my God.
And then now it's, people literally don't even call me Lindsay anymore. They call me Adhis.
I've been walking with you places and I hear Adhis and I'm just like, I know who they're calling. So let's get to the evolution of all this. Now at least you're getting paid to paint bodies. You're in fun party spaces, which is what you were also like looking for when you're going to festivals and everything. And you're like, tick. And then you're also like, I'm charging and I'm charging more. Yay. What's been the evolution now? Because there's Adhis that's getting commissioned to do work. There's Adhis that's even training people to do the body paint because you're being booked at 4 places at the same time and you can't be there. So, which I love for you, by the way.
Thank you.
What was that evolution like?
I'd say it was necessary. I think the environment around Nairobi forced me to evolve.
Oh, good.
Because Nairobi is one of those places. I think also just generally, if you're doing something good that's not been done before, everyone's gonna do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone is going to do it. I'm like, look at Nairobi right now. I'm very happy that now there's an abundance.
Yes.
Because I don't have to stretch myself thin and everyone can make a bag.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also realized, everyone's also undercutting my prices.
Right. Yes, that always happens with competition.
And they're also, they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Mm-hmm. But guys were straight up ripping my shit.
Yeah.
Like just like taking my actual stuff and replicating it, which I understand. everyone needs to start off being inspired somewhere. But then now in a business sense, it was, I can literally get what you're doing for cheaper.
Yes, yeah.
Somewhere else.
Yes.
And that for me kind of made me take a step back and be like, okay, I'm a creative. I've done the body painting. I've put my name out there. I've networked.
Yes.
What's next?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be known as Lindsay the body painter anymore. I want to be known as Lindsay the artist.
Yes.
And when I started having those thoughts, COVID conveniently came.
See God.
Because I'm not touching nobody.
Yeah.
No events, nothing.
No events.
So I had time to think. And I was
actually, it was that thing of now I have to have an artistic expression where if there's ever a pandemic like this, I can still
work. Exactly. But for me, it wasn't really a whole work thing because I realized I'm not making any money.
Yes.
I'm one of the privileged people that still had a home to go to that was taken care of, and I was pretty safe in terms of safety net during COVID. So shout out to my folks for that, Sana. But it also reached a point where I was like, okay, you want to be this artist, now you have time.
Yeah.
And I said, let me start the hard way. I looked into a medium that I hated, and that was watercolors. I know.
Why start where you hate? That's so interesting.
I'm that type of person, because even like with my tattoos, I went to the most painful part on your body that you could tattoo. And that's why I got my first tattoo.
I want this one.
Yeah, I was like, I want to know how bad it
can be.
Yeah, in terms of like pushing myself.
Yes.
So that any other challenge that comes after that, at least I can know. I started off with a hard time.
So what's your relationship with watercolors now?
It's my go-to medium. It has been my medium since. It's been my medium since. So I started painting just to release and get familiar with the medium. And then, of course, as COVID continued, I was putting out more work, and everyone was like, how can we get it? I had not yet considered the business aspect of actually having a creative business that is selling a product, not necessarily a service, like I was before. And I was like, oh, okay, so I need to consider things like packaging. I need to consider things like pricing. I need to consider what is this thing actually has a market.
Yes.
And I need to look into it.
Yeah.
Like who is the one making decisions when it comes to things like pricing or what's worthy to show in a gallery.
Exactly.
And things like that. So,
and even the people who are gonna buy, how much do they actually have to give me? Because it's always more than you think it is, guys.
Yeah.
We always think it's less. It's actually always more than you're estimating.
Yeah, for sure. And then, also things like, how do I mark up my work? Because art supplies in Kenya are ridiculously overcharged.
Yeah. Is it because they think it's for children to have fun with, or why?
No, I think it's literally because of importation.
Oh, yeah.
It's importation. And also, it's like, they've also monopolized it. When you think about art supply places, there are very few.
That's true.
If you have the whole country by the balls.
Yeah, you charge what you want to charge.
And it's also at a time where people are not so used to shipping in things. Not like now, where there's access to all those shipping services and you can order and do these things. But for the most part, a lot of these companies know they have us by the balls and they can charge ridiculous amounts.
What they want, yeah.
And we're enslaved to them. We're like, okay, if this is what we're starting off with, then,
That's actually so true.
And then it also doesn't help that, artists generally, unless you're known and everything, like your payroll, not even unless you're known, unless you've cracked the code.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of artists that are doing a lot of corporate work as well as their personal work.
Yes.
They're either doing like consulting, and like you have to find your different means as you're going through your journey.
Yeah.
However, there's quite a number that have just done the one thing, and that's been their thing.
And it's been enough.
Yeah, but it's not easy to get the kind of money most of the people who are buying your art are making. Let me put it that way. So you have to look at it. So I looked at it as okay, I'm an artist now. Okay, so what does that look like? And thank goodness, so backstory on Hustle Sasa, right?
Which is where you can find this art available even now?
So for those of you who don't know, Hustle Sasa is an online platform, not only for creatives, for a lot of small businesses that are looking for a platform to have people make orders, make appointments, make bookings for the services that they provide.
Right.
And for certain products that you have to sell.
Okay.
And during the initial stages of its, inception, Peng, who is founder and CEO of Hustle Sasa, who also conveniently owns and runs The Alchemist.
Yes.
Because of the body painting, I had now networked with him and we had become good friends.
Right.
And he's like, there's this platform that I'm thinking about. Because a lot of the time when I'd be at gigs, he'd actually pull me to the side and ask me questions like, so how's business going? Like, if you need Kumbe, this guy was doing like market research.
Right. On who are the people that would come and sell on my platform. Because
he's like, listen, if someone wanted to book Lindsay and they, for all of these other things, instead of going through her Instagram, why can't she have like a one-stop shop?
Yes.
Or like, let's say all these people who come to The Alchemist and they're selling.
Because they have very many stores.
Yeah, and even like musicians, if they're trying to get like sales for their albums and things like that.
Yeah.
So for all kinds of creatives and entrepreneurs, even like there's bakers on Hustle Sasa.
Yeah, it's going to be like food. Everyone.
Yeah, there's everything on Hustle Sasa. But at the time, I didn't know Peng was fishing for like, I guess the problems we face so he can look at the solutions. So he had told me that there's this app that they're prototyping and I should create a profile. I give him all my details and he'll create a profile for me, which he did. And he said, like, how much would you charge for XYZ? And he literally put it in and then sent me like a link to a prototype of what my page would look like. And I'm like, wow, this is actually so dope. He's like, so we're just trying to secure funding.
Right.
Fast forward, they get the funding, Hustle Sasa is launched.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, this thing is serious. And I remember seeing it for a couple of months because I think they launched in end of They launched in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And remember now, this is also COVID is ending. I've been painting.
Yes.
I've been painting. So I'm like, let me actually put my things up on this app. But because I had been painting for so long, I was like, okay, it's time for me to reintroduce myself as the artist.
Yes.
So what do I need? I need a studio. I need an art studio. Where am I going to get an art studio?
Right.
We thank the heavens for friends because I met another amazing creative force. Her name is Vinette. Shout out to Vinette, founder of Kilibasi Studios and Natural Organics. And she actually commissioned me to do a mural at her new studio.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay, let me come check it out. I go there, I'm doing measurements. I'm like, just for curiosity's sake, how much is rent here? Because it's empty spaces. She's like, it goes for XYZ. I'm like, okay. I'm just about to launch my prints on my Hustle Sasa. And I don't know how I'm going to do.
Yes.
But let me just see. I'll hit you up in a month and see if I can get another space. She's like, actually, I'm thinking about getting a bigger space. So if you need, we can get the space together. But you just see how your money is looking.
And then we talk. Vinette, we love you.
We love Vinette, man. So I put up my prints on Hustle Sasa and I kid you not. I think that's the most money at the time that I'd made in a week. Just off of, like, no effort, no marketing. I just put them there and I said, guys, I have prints.
Yeah.
I literally did one post on Twitter, one post on Instagram.
Yeah.
And this is where all the networking I had done with the body painting over the years and all these events came in. I kid you not, I made 80K just selling prints. Just
like that. There was one print that went. I remember I had even sent it to Kesa, my husband. Shout out to you. I was like, babe, I want to buy this. And I went on, pretty sure it was the same day because I was in studio. I was doing radio. And at the end of the show, I went on and he was like, oh, yeah, it's great. No, let's buy. And it was sold out. And I was just like,
yeah.
But now I'm so happy to hear the end story.
Yeah.
I was busy in my sadness of why I didn't get the print that I want.
Even actually, there's a person here who also has one of my prints.
Yay!
She actually has two.
Oh,
she actually has two.
Shout out.
Because I remember, that first batch of people who bought prints then, I'll never forget them.
Because it's such a shock and it's such a huge thank you.
Like, people actually want to invest and buy. They've seen the stuff and they enjoy it and they want to support, but they want to have this in their space. So for me, that was so reassuring. But also that meant that I can call up Vinette and tell her, girl,
I'm ready.
It's time.
Will you send money? How much?
It's time to move in.
I want to pay 3 months in advance.
Exactly.
Just
deposits and all of that. But I would say I've had my studio for just a year and a couple of months now. I would say, unless you really need a studio,
right?
Unless you really, really need a studio, do what you can with the space that you have.
I love that. That's a great advice.
Yeah.
Because there's a jump that we do when we decide to do something, especially if you have a little bit of success or a little bit of validation. And it's not necessary. I went to a podcast masterclass not too long ago. And it was so nice to have somebody just explain to us, if you look at everything as a business from the get-go, there's so many costs you don't need to incur.
Yep.
So many. And sometimes that's usually rent for a space or rent for an office or rent for a studio. Sometimes it's that PA that in your head you really think you need to hire. Sometimes it's that iPhone you feel you need to buy for certain pictures. And it's 100% not necessary. Google all your role models. If you can find out how they started or watch interviews, none of them had that stuff.
Yeah.
Or they regret that initial spending because it wasn't a must.
It's not necessary. And I think because I pivoted and started providing art classes.
Yes.
That's literally the only reason I need
your studio
my studio space. But also because I realized I could also make money because I like to curate my space. And I think I have a very pretty palette when it comes to things. So like at those times I was hiring out my studio just for shoots. So someone is shooting a music video or they're doing like a podcast and want to interview guys as they're painting. Like so many other things. And I was like, okay. But now, of course, an artist's income is never steady. Unless you're working in a job with an employer that pays you regularly.
Yeah.
An artist's income is never regular. So you have some really hard-hitting months.
Yeah.
And even the space you've invested in may not necessarily make money for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're relying on also what's in other people's pockets. But I guess this is the challenge to every creative, to just find new creative ways to make money. I call it the creative's curse. And I only say curse because it's something that we don't choose, but it's part of the process. And you have to adapt.
It comes with it.
It comes with it. You have to find... The curse of the creative is you're very creative to create things, but you also have to be creative in making money.
That's so true.
You have to be creative in how you're going to make money.
The juices are needed in every
aspect. Because I keep telling people there's creativity everywhere, even in banking.
Yeah.
Even in, for me, creativity is not just related. What do you call it? It's not just limited to creatives.
Yes.
There's creativity literally everywhere you look. It's there.
Yeah.
But it's just on your mindset, because I feel like solution generating professions.
Yes, any solution driven.
Yeah, exactly. Thing. Like it's
you have to be very creative.
Hella creative. So just back to what I was saying about like having a space. When you look at like your investments, initially when you finally conquered one thing and trying to go to the next level.
Yes.
It's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
It's okay to invest in something and have expectations that are not met.
Yeah.
Because things will only work out in your own individual experience of that thing that you've put your energy into.
Yeah.
try and do your due diligence and pay attention to your books.
I love that.
Yeah, really pay attention to your books, because you really end up spending things
that you don't need to be
spending on. And especially when you're trying to be it's important to know the full scope of what your creative enterprise needs.
Yeah.
So it's important for you to attempt to do all the things at some point in your...
Especially at the beginning, because then that's when you'll know everything.
Exactly. But you don't have to be that guy that does those things forever.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking as someone who is currently suffering that disease of the person who's doing everything. Because the ways I get to like use services from other people is just through collaboration. Yeah. So collaboration is like hella important for me, because I'm not a photographer, and someone like Steph will call me up. Those of you who don't know Steph Panzigo, follow her on Instagram. Doing this whole production. She's amazing. Someone like Steph will call me up and be like, there's a concept, and here my skills can shine. Yes. And so can hers, and so can everyone else that's involved. So then I end up getting a product from Steph that I didn't have to do all by myself. And it also adds to how I market. So Steph has also done marketing for me. Yeah. In a sense. Because now as collaborators, I have this thing we've all shared, and I have it on my platform, she has it on hers, and it just becomes a domino effect. Yeah. So collaboration is also really, really good when it comes to managing skill sets that you feel you don't have, but you need.
And it sounds to me like, first of all, you're a brilliant business person, because you're one of those people that has gold and has no idea you have gold. And then you have all these people around you who go, no, charge more. Or no, do this. Literally. Or no, expand this way. Literally. Or no. And it's just like, those are my favorite business people, by the way. I'm just like, I love the ones who have no idea that what they have is super incredible or so brilliant. Because then you wake up to it and you start structuring. You start, okay, so this is how I can, okay. But at least the niche part is done. That's already locked in.
It's done.
I'm done.
It's done, but I'm also done with that niche.
I'm glad. Yeah. You're on this other side now.
I'm on the other side now. Like, even when I do body paint, it's for a very specific thing. Yes. Because the skill is there, and if someone needs it, it has to be worthwhile. Yeah, exactly. I've reached that point where I can be picky.
Oh, love that for you.
Yeah, I can be picky, because also there's a lot of people out there doing the same thing.
That's very true.
Let them get their bag. I think for me, it's just exhausted.
Yeah. No, you've done it for so many years and everything, and you have another partnership that I just want us to touch on slightly, which is Free Mind Sessions. Right. And you work with a very good friend of yours. Shout out to Jonas Nashomba, who is a co-founder of Free Mind Sessions. And you guys gave me my first emceeing gigs. I don't know if you know this.
I do.
First. And when you don't know that you needed something until you're there. Yeah. So I was in the space, I was emceeing. I knew I needed an emceeing opportunity. But being in the Free Mind Session space, I was like, wait. There is no place where, other than the internet, where there's no stupid question you can ask. And you guys were like going into the nitty-gritties of the creative process, because you have Jonas, who's a fashion designer, and you have Lindsay, who's a visual artist. But you guys realized there was nowhere to go where we could talk about how do you price yourself as an artist. Yeah. There was nowhere to go where we could talk about sexual assault and inappropriate behavior in the art space. There was nowhere you could go and people could talk to you about, this artist who has this epic business, but you have no idea how it came to be. Yeah. And it was physical spaces. You had to come, you had to buy your ticket at the door or bring it to the door. And then we would all sit there. I have so many contacts from
those sessions.
From that time. Yeah. Because you sat in a room together and had coffee or had a drink. Yeah. And I have never asked this. How did you and Jonas start Free Mind Sessions?
Wow. Okay. This is not for just touching. That's a long story. Oh, no. But I would say Nyashomba tells the story better, but I'm going to put it in a very summarized way. Okay. Nyashomba had her thesis built on a fashion brand that encourages the free-spirited person. Right? And she said, because this has inspired me so much, how can I create a space for other free-spirited and free-minded people?
Right.
So she ends up doing this free mind sessions, and Nyashomba and I met backstage at the model management job that I had years ago. I started Africa. We met backstage because at the time she was an intern for another fashion designer.
Okay.
And we met backstage, and that's how we met.
What?
Yeah. So fast forward years later, she has this thing. She's seen that I'm a creative. I've now checked into art school and I've been doing all these things. And she's like, we need someone who can do decor.
Okay. That was the approach.
That was the approach. So I started off Free Mind Sessions as the decor person.
Right.
We were 5 ladies who all had different things that just combined forces and believed in the vision. And that's how I started off Free Mind Sessions. Like, that's how.
What?
Yeah.
That's an incredible story.
Fast forward to, we did 5 years last year. 6 years later.
6 years later.
Fast forward to 6 years later. And now, of course, some of our initial group either got other commitments or just weren't aligned with the vision. They felt it wasn't working for them.
Yeah.
And we ended up being just the 2 of us.
And you've done such incredible work. You have such awesome collaborations, like what you do with the Design
Nairobi
Institute.
Design Week.
Dude, I am just like, these are my friends. I know these people. I know them, okay? And I want to give you guys your flowers for that.
Thank you.
If you go to our Instagram page, you will find the link for Free Mind Sessions, or just look for Jonas Nyashomba and you will find it. Yeah. And it's a fantastic space, and they're back. They had taken a bit of a hiatus.
We really had.
But they're back.
We're back
So you're listening to this at the right time.
Yeah, and depending on when this comes out, our next session is on the 28th of this month.
Oh, perfect.
And we're talking about money habits.
Hey.
Because it's like we figured out as young adults, what we can do to make money. It's like now, once the money comes...
it's how you're spending it and how you're saving it.
Yeah,
it's
what
a bit
happens?
Crazy.
And we're not talking about like what you should do. It's more about holding yourself accountable for the decisions you make.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because it's like we know what we should be doing, but somehow we end up doing other things. Why?
Guys, I could talk to Lindsay for 3, 4, 5 hours, but I want us to bring this to a close. So we have been asking the different artists that we're hosting on the space to ask questions to the next artist. So the question that I have for you is, if you could close your eyes and picture the future Kenyan art industry, let's even say 50 years from now, what does it look like? Paint that picture for us.
50 years from now.
So we're in 2073.
We're going to 2017.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know how crazy that sounds?
It sounds... What?
We'll be raisins.
Yeah.
We will be raisins.
We will be very old.
But hopefully hot raisins.
Hot raisins,
yeah,
for sure.
Hot raisins. I think that space will probably look a lot like it does now. And let me say this. Let me say why. I think as such a new space that has a lot of innovation happening, there's constant change, right? And right now, as the creative industry, there's a lot of non-conventional things that are being given light.
Yes.
Right? I do see, though, in 50 years, artists being taken a lot more seriously.
Yeah.
Because right now, arts and the creatives are defining how everyone is consuming information.
Very true.
It's no longer, one person in a room with the idea. It's the whole conversation. News is being given to you in a creative way. Skills are being shared in a creative way. Creativity is the in thing right now. If you're not creative really in all aspects of what you're doing, you're not grabbing people's attention.
Very true.
And attention spans are lessening.
Yes.
So honestly, it's going to look like a circus because I feel like now Nairobi and Kenya looks like a very subdued circus. There's a lot of jumping and flipping around, but it's happening very chini ya maji. But now it's just going to be out there for the world to see. And we look back as people who have had the privilege of being in a creative space that didn't exist, aka like before technology is what it is now.
Yeah.
Because we are at the age group where things transition.
That's true.
We got internet.
Yes.
We got smartphones.
Yep.
And we were there when there were no smartphones.
Yep, very true.
We were there when there were no laptops.
Yeah, now there's apps and you can do everything on your phone.
Exactly. So as the people who were pioneers of that transition, in 50 years' time is when we'll really get to see what that full transition looks like.
Yeah.
And what the benefits are everywhere.
Yeah.
Because then hopefully by then it would have spread into more rural areas and whatever. And everyone has the laptops, everyone has the internet and everything. I can also only hope.
Yeah.
I can also only hope. And also like just art becomes something that is revered and not just something that is known as a struggle.
Yes.
And
you've chosen this, hey? So you want to suffer?
Yes, exactly. It's not just known as a struggle, but it's something that is a necessity and it is recognized as a necessity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So what is your question that I can ask somebody else that's going to be joining us here on this platform? They could be anybody. They could be a sculptor, a videographer, a rapper. It could be anybody.
I think the question that I would like to ask them is, have they experienced a point in their creative journey where they felt they had to pivot and turn into a different version of themselves?
Oh.
And what happened after that?
Yes.
Like what were the advantages and the disadvantages? Because I feel like a lot of us are in that space now.
Yes.
And it comes with the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And some things fall off and other things you gain. And I think people are not, because we're in this place together, people are keeping the experiences very close because it's very personal, because you're changing they're changing a version of you that people have familiarized themselves with.
Yeah.
And that's,
and most of the time we're mad as your fans. We're like, no. We don't want this.
Exactly. But you have your reasons. So that's the question I want to ask. When you've decided to make that change or when it has happened, or if you're considering it, or what have you, like what happened?
Yeah. Oh, that's a brilliant question. Ending this podcast episode on such a happy note. Me and my friend gonna go catch up, okay, with the rest of the crew. So y'all gonna have to wait until the next episode to hang out with us.
Yes.
But it's been a blessing having you here.
I've had such a good time.
And shout out to Hustle Sasa. Shout out to Panzigo Studios.
I've really been plugging.
Panzigo Productions, who's doing this. Shout out to Skika Africa,
Shout out to Skika
who have
Africa.
made this possible, and Savannah Space, who have given us this beautiful furniture. To my family members who've given us the space where we're shooting, shout out to you as well. I am Susan Joroge Awori. I have been your host for this episode, and I'm so excited to have you guys on the next one for Skika Uncover. Be blessed, and I'll see you next episode. Bye.